So yeah, welcome everybody, whatever time zone you're in, you're really welcome. We're just going to wait a few minutes for other people to join, so please bear with us. Again, wishing everybody welcome. Good evening, morning, good lunchtime maybe, whatever time zone you're in.
Shall we begin?
Why not? Over to you, Correction.
Yeah, Amy is here. So, well, welcome everyone to our first wardrobe methods event planning session. I know for some of you it may be the middle of the night or very early in the morning, so we really do appreciate your attendance. Just for a quick warm-up activity, we were thinking it'd be lovely to know all the different mother tongues we have on the call today. So if you'd like, could you please in the chat drop down your name and where you come from, the languages you speak. And I'm now going to pass on, while you're doing that, to Kate, who will take us through the course of the event.
Yeah, wonderful. So yes, just to reiterate the welcome, my name is Kate Fletcher, and that speaking before me was Karishma Kelsey, who is, like me, a member of the board of the Union of Concerned Researchers in Fashion. It's really nice to have you all on this call today, and yeah, we would love to know the diversity of languages spoken on this call. So please, yes, jot down your mother tongue in the chat so we can all appreciate how many different parts of the world we're representing and languages. So I am just going to begin. I guess people maybe will join a few more people through the course of this, but let's just start now. So over the last 30 years, sustainability issues in fashion have been pretty much constantly framed within business without asking questions about the nature of business itself. And this has really severely narrowed approaches to fashion and sustainability and resulted in more, not less, degradation of clothing makers and the earth. The Union of Concerned Researchers in Fashion was founded in 2018 by 5 research and fashion practitioners in order to steer a smarter, better debate about fashion and sustainability. We recognize that researchers' traditions of seeking out evidence, of critical discourse, of recognizing both limitations and contexts, these things are desperately needed for the common good of the broader fashion sector. So today, the Union is an international community of over 200 members. We are an independent, self-funded organisation, and the board and the members engage on an entirely voluntary basis. That's just a little bit about us. But the event today's event is to explore a family of research methods called wardrobe studies, or wardrobe methods sometimes. These methods are used to explore the flows and dynamics and relationships of the use phase of clothing. This is an area of ecological and social importance, of complexity, and also political contestation. The aim of today's events is to explore what this research method is, what insights it helps us unearth, And we also hope to try to extend the use of wardrobe methods, build in greater diversity in their ideas and application. We're going to be asking you to share your thoughts, including ideas that you might have about how we can build community around wardrobe methods. One suggestion that has been put forward is to add to an ongoing library of wardrobe research methods on the clothing research website that we'll share later. But we're absolutely open to other ideas too. We're really keen to hear from you about this, but we'll come back to this at the end of the session. So very briefly, what you can expect today is 2 parts to this event. Ingun is going to give a presentation followed by some time for questions, and then there'll be a facilitated discussion in breakout rooms. Before we begin, I just want to outline a few rules of engagement. We at the union, and I'm just going to add this to the chat, we at the union use a code of conduct to guide our work. So if you look in the chat, there's a link to it there. You have to scroll down a little. And we use this to guide our work in meetings and also at events like this. So this outlines the sorts of things that we think are important as we seek to do our work: cultures of care, courage, and more. So we encourage you perhaps now to have a quick look at it, but also maybe to perhaps borrow this and use this in your work too. We find it a very powerful way to work respectfully and also really focusing on the powerful work of change. But just a few other ideas about the rules of engagement here today. Sometimes it's a bit frustrating because you think, oh, that person's not come. But what we want you to do is just trust that whoever is here are the right people, and together we'll have the sort of conversation and learning that we need. We have put a lot of thought into the design of this event today, so if you can, just try to trust whatever is happening, trust the process, and stay open to what we ask you to do, and perhaps defer judgment to later. Just a note on social media, we would love you to post about today's event, but if you could do so afterwards, that would be great. We are with you just for such a short period of time, and it would be great to have your full focus. So at the end, we're going to share some hashtags and our social media handles. And at the end, if you'd like to tag us, please take a note of those. Also, to let you know that we're going to record this event. So if you don't want your image to appear, please turn off your camera. That said, it would be so nice to see your face. So please leave on the camera if you're happy to do so. Okay, I'm now going to introduce Ingun, who is our speaker here this morning. So Ingun Grimstad-Klepp is professor in clothing and sustainability, working in apparel research at Consumption Research Norway in Oslo Metropolitan University. And she's been doing that since 1999. Her contribution has been key for developing the research field through advancing methods, projects, knowledge, and discourse about clothes and their role in society and our lives, including wearing habits, laundry, lifespan, product development, and value chains. Ingun is also an expert mushroom forager, berry forager, skier, swimmer, fisherwoman, knitter, and the list goes on. So we now warmly invite Ingun to take the stage and share her presentation.
So
thank you.
I'll be sharing
Thank you, Kate.
To note everybody else, please just mute your microphones.
Yes, I try to share. Does it work? Yes, good. Also putting it in the right mood. Yes, there it is. Yes, good morning or good day, everybody. Nice to see you, and thanks for the introduction, Kate. Yes, I think I just start with this introduction about the wardrobe method in time of change. And as Kate said, I have been working with clothing and sustainability at Consumer Research Norway for a very long time. And my first development of the method was published in 2001. The thing was that SIFO, which we call our institution at the time, had two different departments. One doing science, laboratory tests, amongst other things about textiles and washing. And you can see the pictures from that. And on the other side, a social science department, working amongst other things with environmental questions. And my aim with this method was actually to bridge between the natural science and the social science at our institution. So it was not based on other research on clothing. It was also it was opposite. It was a way of trying to weave together two different research traditions. And I started with working on clothes, women clothes, and why women stopped using them. And you can see some of the clothes here. They were like 10, 20 years old, and I demonstrate different reasons for why they were discarded. If you look at clothes and how they are marketed, it is two things that are striking. That one thing is that price is what the whole thing is about. The other thing is that newness or the concept of fashion, the new things are highlighted. In a way, marketing of clothes are very little about their materiality, their materials, their performance, their way they have been made or where and how. And this also affects the way we are speaking or the way consumers are speaking about clothes. This means also that interviewing about clothes actually are very difficult because many of our concepts are very unclear. Classic can be anything. Quality is even worse, and fashion, of course, is very difficult. So the most common used words about clothing is actually not defined and very difficult to define. When I worked with this, I also developed a line, and this is from the first report. It's about how clothes are used by the consumers. The line has a starting point where something is made or bought or inherited or gifted. And then we have different use phases where they are in use or stored. The red arrow is where I actually worked with this in the beginning, looking backwards from when it was discarded. At the time, we also met other people, and this was a network of Nordic people, and some of them you can see here. And this, with working together with developing the method, was very, very important. And we also, at the time, gave it a name. And I would say, working with methods, we need names, because then we can refer to each other and we can talk about it and we can put it into application. So naming is very important. Some of these people are here today, and it could have been of very many others. The thing was that we came together, mostly in Copenhagen, and that we discussed the method. And the outcome was many different papers and many different research projects. Amongst other things, the opening up the wardrobe method book with 50 different methods described that Kate and I did together. For me, I would also say that the paper with Mari Bjerk, the picture in the bottom there, was important because it's often referred to of our work as like a standard reference to the method. So, what is now going on? I would say at SIFO today, we have two different or many different projects also working with wardrobe studies. And we have expanded the line, which you can see in the bottom, in the middle picture, to a system that we not only talk about how clothes are bought or made or something, and then used and then discarded, but we also try to understand the vertical line between the use of clothes in different occasions and the storing and all these processes in between, like washing, mending, and so on. This event is a part of the Change project, and that is partly why I said in the time of change as a title for the presentation. But we also have a wasted textile project, which is also important using the wardrobe method. I know that we are many people, and some of you have been a part of this from the beginning, and some of you have very little knowledge, or you say you have very little knowledge about the wardrobe method. So I will try to explain what it is, what is actually different in this method than other methods. And I would say that, first of all, it is special because we use the garments. In this picture, we have the garment represented by a jacket, and we have an interview. And we also have a quote from an interview. So wardrobe method is using garments and asking some of the same questions to many garments. The questions can be asked differently. It can be fieldwork, it can be service, it can be technical, more technical, using laboratories to understand more about the garment. But anyway, the garment is a unit. And this makes us, is possible for us to zoom in on details, such as this quote about the garment here, and to zoom out and look on the garments as a part of a whole. And this can be analyzed as the person's wardrobe, but it can also be analyzed not on person, but on type of garments. This is a picture from Irene Maldini, also present here today, and it represents a wardrobe with the things going in and the things going out, and most importantly, actually, the things that are in the wardrobe and how the flow is affecting the wardrobe. So this method can be used in very many different ways, and we are, as Kate said, also now collecting new entrances about new use of the method. But I will continue talking about the political side of using it today. This doesn't mean this is the only way of using it. It's only that this is what I am engaged in mostly these days. Yes, EU has decided to become green. That's nice. And clothes need to be more regulated. Also, shoes and other textiles really need it. We need to have regulation to make less impact and also a more fair textile industry. As you see here, 16 different areas of legislation is coming up fast. And this is in a field where very little regulation has been done lately. I mean, since the 1980s has been more or less open for anything. I would say that the EU strategy is very important, not only for EU, but also for the rest of the world, because textiles is so much global, and this is the first really attempt to make a difference. It builds on circular economy, unfortunately, I would say. And also it builds on other kind of regulation, on other kind of products. And both of these things are a bit problematic. In this, the reuse, the repairability and durability is very important. At SIFO, we made analysis of different policy on textiles, amongst others the EU regulation, and we asked whether they tried to minimize plastification and also the quantities produced, and none of these questions are really discussed. And that's really a pity. And I and Kate and many others here today are working with this, trying to make quantities and also plastification a part of the strategies, or said otherwise, to make the discussion more about the systems and less about single products. That has led us to Brussels. That has led us into a lot of discussion with policymakers in Brussels, trying to raise our voice and say durable, repairable, recyclable might not be so easy, and it might not link to the biggest problems. Too much is produced today. The durability question is the most problematic and urgent. And the durability question links something that we are, many of us has a lot of knowledge about. One thing is the product and the design of the product. That's durability. They can, if we want, be used for a long time or a short time. Durability is about products. But what I have been interested in is not durability, it is lifetime or duration of service or other things that are measuring how long we actually are using things. Or not only how long, but also how many times or by how many users. This with looking at the product and guessing how their life is going to be is something else than looking at the end of the life, looking backwards and try to find out how it has been. And unfortunately, it's very little research that actually are linking these two different approaches together, so we actually can say something about the life of the products based on their durability, for instance. We know that the most durable fibers, like polyester, isn't necessarily used longer than the weakest fibers, like silk and wool. But you also know that it might be used many times. The industry or the fast fashion industry and EU wants to use durability as a main way of working with increasing lifetime of clothes. And this picture shows how big difference it is between polyester and natural fibers. It's like 3 times stronger. And this is 2 different test methods, but there's also other test methods, and they will show more or less the same. At the same time, we know that clothes go out of use for other reasons than that they aren't strong enough. This picture is partly based on a service and partly on research done with wardrobe studies. I would also say that some of the surveys are influenced by the way that wardrobe studies has concentrated on clothing, not only on words and concepts. We can also see from some of the wardrobe studies, this is Irene's Maldivis study from Netherlands, that people don't replace clothes. In her study, it was 12 of 312 items that was bought or as a replacement of something that was broken. This is very important because if the strategies are making stronger the way of making less, replacement has to be in place for this concept to work. The thing is that, yes, and also now we have expanded to using waste and doing waste audits, and they show exactly the same. In Norway, we can see that most of the clothes discarded, regardless if it's discarded in the waste or delivered to reuse, most of it is actually usable. So it's not broken, and it would be, and all these different findings support that durability is not the right way or the only way or the most urgent way to fight overproduction. We have tried to now to also to merge the waste audits and the wardrobe method to make it more in line with what we actually need now to discuss the EU strategy. And so now we have expanded the wardrobe method towards the waste audits and try to find a way to make wardrobe method less costly. And that is important because it is very urgent with new and more and deeper understanding of the use phase to discuss the strategies toward sustainability. Yes, I have now tried to explain why the method today for me and others I work with are so political. And that is because we can say something based on solid knowledge about the use phase that are different than only listening to the industry or the fast fashion industry, which really like and welcome this durability concept, because then it makes the cheapest and fast growing polyester as the greenest in the class. But I, as a person, are really interested in clothing, and I would like the method to be used in so many different ways to understand clothes in our daily life and to expand understanding of the differences around the world. And we are also pleased at SIFO to have a project that is not about the environment using a wardrobe method. It's called Belong. It's about young, or yeah, all the children or young youth and their way of belonging to each other and to their materials. And we are using wardrobe studies there. And I think it is little done when it comes to children's clothing and young people's clothing based on wardrobe studies. So this is one of very many fields that we might see a development. So I will stop with this to explain that even though I'm working very political with the wardrobe studies just now, I would like it to be differently. I would like the knowledge we have about clothing to be taken seriously in policy development, and that we, all of us that really would like to expand the knowledge of clothing, could do it with a lot of different angles, including inclusion, such as belonging. Yeah, and all our projects, and also what Kate will talk about now, I guess, the wardrobe library is on our website called Clothing Research. Yes, and then I will stop sharing.
Thank you, Ingunn. We now plan just to take a few questions from the audience. If you have any questions of clarification, specific questions, please raise a hand and I will invite you to speak. Generally, if you've got a question buzzing around in your mind, someone else will be thinking the same thing. And so it's a good thing just to ask it because it helps many people. That's generally the view of this. Anybody got a question? I can see Vibeke. Hello there. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ingunn. I was wondering if you ever made any wardrobe studies with like decision makers of, politicians, CEOs, economic theorists or whatever, because we tend to do these wardrobe studies with a lot of users of all kinds and so on. But maybe, I mean, what we have experienced at least, and I think many doing wardrobe studies, is that it is a big, it can create awareness about own actions and then create a reaction. So that's why I'm just asking if you did anything in this area. Thank you.
Thank you, Vibeke, and I haven't, and I think your comment is very good. That the research doesn't not only makes results, it also do something with the understanding of the clothing system. The nearest at SIFO that has to do with something in this direction is actually work that wasn't finished about the use of suits at our parliament. Unfortunately, it wasn't finished, but it was a very good project. And I think that this with power and clothing, of course, should have been understood better. Also because in the design directive in EU, they think that classic is better than other things, but classic is also linked to power. So I think that beside your very good point of making change in politicians, it could also be that this understanding of the classic, meaning, a way of dressing that is linked to power and money, could have been explored more.
Thank you both. Any other questions, reflections? I can see Donna, you have posted a question in the chat. Would you be prepared to voice that, or would you rather I read it out?
I can read it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is based on some like unfinished work of mine, but I'm looking for, or if you know of the best way to gain access to wardrobes. And it seems if it's in person, which is costly and hard to gain entry, are there technologies? I'm thinking of like digital wardrobe diaries or studies that might be available. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again. I think this is might be more for the discussion later, but I would say that as I mentioned, the wardrobe method in the beginning for most of us was fieldwork that we actually wear in the wardrobes. Today we see that it has developed also and changed service, so people are doing wardrobe studies themselves, or also that we have people working with wardrobe studies with others, like their mothers, for instance, or their fathers or someone else. When it comes to this, the technology, yes, this is not my specialty. but we can see also a development of interest in that. I can't answer just now, but yes, it's possible. Of course, it changes the outcome, but I think that both the use of service and the use of other self-reporting systems can give information. And in the beginning and in the book, actually, Kate and I wrote quite negative, I would say, about using of service in wardrobe studies. But later, I would say that this has been very important, not least in the policy area, because people ask for bigger numbers. I mean, they are obsessed with the numbers instead of believing that also more qualitative approaches is important. But it's not a good answer, but I can't answer you better just now.
But we are delighted that the collective mind, the collective intelligence of the audience have offered several apps and other digital tools. So they're being listed in the chat. I know Irene on this call also has experience of that. So if you can add those to the chat, I think that would be really helpful in answering this question. Before I go to Anna, I just want to supplement by saying, in the past, I have used what we call gatekeepers. So if you find somebody who can then provide access to a range of other people, that is often a good way in, but it is time-consuming work. And it has raised, certainly in the UK, we had to go through very many ethical checks to keep the researchers themselves safe, let alone guard the people who we were studying. So I guess depending on context, there are lots of different challenges to face. That said, as Ingunn has alluded to, it's a very rich data source that you end up building. Okay, enough from me. I am now going to go to Anna. First of all, please, over to you, your question.
Hi, it wasn't really a question. It was also a response to Donna. Recently, I tried to study what women were doing with the address they had, and so I needed them to also to use a journal, to a kind of a wardrobe diary, and I simply used a Google form. So I developed a Google form with a certain amount of questions, and they would simply insert an entry on that Google form whenever they felt like it. So it's not a specific technology for that purpose, but it worked. So it's something you can try.
Super, thank you. And over to Zoe. Comment or question, Zoe?
Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Inga. Can I just say that was such a fascinating presentation. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. It was brilliant. I just wanted, it was more of a comment, and the first thing I was just thinking about when I've done wardrobe studies, and actually big fan of technology and digital stuff, but actually one of the beautiful things is about the conversations you have, and actually part of wardrobe studies for me is about that conversation as well. I wanted to sort of ask your thoughts. You just made a comment. I think it was slightly different from wardrobe studies, and it was slightly fleeting. But you said you were talking about the quality of fibers, and you referred to wool as being one of the weaker fibers. And it's just, I never perceive wool as a weak fiber ever. And obviously it was in a wider context. So, you know, we were talking about synthetics, but I was just wondering your thoughts around that. I perceive wool as a strong fiber, but maybe perhaps that's once it's in its garment form, we can create a strength around it rather than the fibers itself. Anyway, I was interested in your, I'm sorry, it's slightly not wardrobe-y, but it is wardrobe-y. So I'd love
it is wardrobe, and thank you both for nice words and also for the question. Yes, in Norway, we have done a survey on what is your oldest garment in our wardrobe, and it's actually what I am wearing. It is the Norwegian sweaters. And that's wool. It's Norwegian wool, very, very strong. And I agree with you that wool garments tends to be old. That is not only Norwegian sweaters. But the thing is that when you are developing regulation, you have to have a test for things. You can't only say that wool is strong. You have to have a test. And in tests, nothing can compare with polyester. It's so much stronger. And that is in all the different tests you can make. So the thing is that, of course, it's also weak products in wool. For instance, underwear, thin underwear in wool tend to be weak and too weak, I think. So it isn't only strong, but it depends on what you are using. And regulation has to be based on clear definitions and possibilities of testing. And
But
that's the problem. So when polyester is 3 times as strong in most, different kind of measurements in laboratories, we need the wardrobe study to say, yeah, but it is the oldest ones. So that's, how the durability actually are operationalized in the regulation that makes it, yeah.
I'm going to ask you that as a follow-up question then. So because strength can't be the only measurement, surely, as in like in terms of regulation, there must be elements of durability or comfort, or I don't know, I can't think of anything obviously, but
durability are understood as physical durability and emotional durability in the regulation. But the emotional durability is even worse. And when it comes to comfort, most of our understanding of comfort is not a line from here and more. It is the opposite. It is actually warmth can be positive or negative. I mean, most of the properties of clothing can be understood differently in different contexts and from different people. So you gain something, you lose something else. And so that's why, I mean, now we are opening a big discussion about emotional durability, which is not my
in fact,
word. I would really say I think it's horrible. I think it's splitting the physical and the emotional from each other. It's very difficult because they are linked. And I think that the duration of service or life of product, it's much better that you are keeping it together. But anyway, this is really
let me just intervene there, because time is really running away, and we have two questions which we're going to take, but please make them really focused and brief, because we're going to run into the next breakout rooms for more discussion. So and I'm afraid I don't know what your name is, K67420TS. Over to you for a very focused, just for a few seconds, please.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. And my question is, have you ever addressed in your wardrobe research the possibility of different textiles being upcycled? So is polyester most likely would be upcycled or not? Have you ever come across any results of this, even if you didn't address it explicitly in your research?
Yes, or it might be that we have done something in that direction, but yes, because we have looked upon differences in materials and their use. But upcycling isn't a big, so you have to have a quite big material to actually discuss that. Repair is, might be. So, but I can't answer it shortly and correctly just now. I'm sorry, but we can come back to it.
Okay, thank you. And then Justice Salome, do you have your question ready or comment? Oh, you're still muted.
Yeah, no. Perhaps I don't need now an answer, but what I'm thinking about, or where do you get the funding for your research? Because I find it very important. I'm in a context of Switzerland, and I wouldn't have an idea where to get funding. So I don't
Okay,
know, perhaps there
I
is a
think
file.
we'll take that one at the end if we can. We're going to break into the breakout groups now, but I think the funding question is a perennial question for us as researchers. So we'll definitely come back if that's okay. But now what we're going to do is we're going to cast ourselves into the hands of Hakan, who's going to distribute us to some breakout rooms where we're going to be guided through by the facilitators through 3 questions to explore in conversation together. So thank you. Over to you, Hakan.
Thank you, Kate. Hi, everyone. Welcome. And now the breakout rooms are ready and you are invited to your breakout rooms. So see you there. And the rooms are open.
Welcome back. We hope you've had an interesting discussion. The one in our group was certainly very interesting. It took us to some surprising places that I've never thought of, certainly. Welcome back, everybody. Are we all, yeah. Hakan, are we all back now? Brilliant. Okay.
Yes, we are.
Sorry if that felt like you were being snatched out in the middle of a conversation. Yeah. But we are going to just conscious that time has already run. I understand if people need to go. We are now on the hour when we said we would leave. So thank you if you need to come. Thank you for coming if you need to leave. Just a few things. We hope you have had a fruitful discussion there. And we perhaps think that this might be just the beginning of your wardrobe methods journey. So just a few things now. In the chat, I'm going to put a link to a wardrobe methods book that was published in 2017. This is the one Ingun mentioned before. And it was in print only for a while. And now we're happy to say that it's been made into an ebook. And the ebook version is free, so free to download and share with students and to engage with it. Also to say that this was also referred to before. We are in the business of collecting more wardrobe methods, new variations. So generally it's seen that every time someone uses it, it becomes bespoke. So people have developed the method in new and different ways. We're looking and especially interested in creating much more diversity in these methods, in context, in geography, in culture, in questions. And if you are doing this, we would love to hear from you. You can, if you wish, share that using the next link that I put in the chat, which is to a place where you can upload more on the wardrobe methods. I mentioned at the earlier, now it's coming quick, fit, thick and fast. Another thing in the chat, I mentioned in the earlier about the socials. We are active on LinkedIn, on Instagram, I think also on Facebook, but I have to confess that I don't use Facebook at all. So I'm not even sure how that works. And if you'd like to tag us, please use the hashtag UCRF wardrobe methods. Tuna, can you add the Facebook information into the chat? So as we are closing, I would like to invite anyone who's not a member of the union, maybe you would consider joining us. You'll find out more information on the union website. I want to remind you that a recording of this talk will be made available both on the UCRF website channel and also on the Clothing Research channel in the coming weeks. I want to say thank you to Ingun, all the facilitators, all of you for coming. And then we've got a couple of questions that we said we would come back to. If anybody has any thoughts on how we can create wardrobe community other than the ones that we've been talking about today, let us know. Raise your hand and maybe offer a suggestion or write to us following this. And then the last one was a question that Salome raised, which was about funding. And this is, of course, very central to many of our work. We can only work if we get the money to do it. So maybe we will just take any reflections that people have on how we get funding for this work, how we can build momentum in this work, and then before we say goodbye. So anyone like to offer any thoughts? The places that we've had funding from to date have tended to be some of the research councils, but they're not always easy to get funding from. Any other thoughts, Vibeke?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. Switzerland is not a member of EU.
No.
Yeah, so because there are some great opportunities, I think, between higher educations to look for funding, but there might be also a possibility to be affiliated with EU projects. So look out for what's going on. Are you in a higher education? Are you doing research in a higher education?
No, at the moment not. No.
No. Oh, that makes it quite difficult then. Yeah.
It is true that brands are increasingly interested in the wardrobe method, so that might be an opportunity. I'm going to move to Irene.
Yes, that was what I was going to say, that both at Colding and for what I understood now from Elise, from Artes, I think the fact that regulation it now has a focus on, to some extent, on use through the durability focus, makes it a question for companies how they can prove the durability or test the durability of their products in use. So not only in terms of material resistance, but really about duration of service, what Ingun was talking about. So to my knowledge, both in the project Prolong in Colding that was funded last year is an innovation fund. So it's not a social sciences. It has really, you know, a company and innovation focus. These kind of methods start being very relevant also in that line of research, in the sense that regulation is coming. It comes with lack of knowledge. So stressing the lack of knowledge of clothing use, I think, is the main argument to use wardrobe studies. And yes, they are expensive. I mean, of course, we can always use surveys, but we have always also said that there is a lack of reliability in self-reported data. I think this is one of the main challenges of wardrobe studies, to my opinion, the cost versus reliability, this tension, how you choose your method based on these two things. Thank you.
Right, and then Zoe, just coming to you, just for you to chip in on that point.
But in the UK, Microsoft are just about to move to the UK and have a massive hub. And so if people are looking at digital exploration, there might be some interesting funding there. I mean, you never know, that's always worth, but I think they're, particularly if you're engaged with the university, they think they'd be interested, but it was just a thought.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Zoe. Okay, on that note, I'd just like to thank you again for coming. Thanks to everyone who's contributed. And I guess that the way to leave is to keep going with the work of deep and lasting change. This has to be all of our focus in these times of emergency. So thank you, and don't lose heart. We're all out here doing similar work, building together. Okay, thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.